welcome back. I missed you.
I missed you. It feels like forever.
It's been 2 weeks, 2 solid weeks. So I thought what we do this episode is just talk about relapses and give people some encouragement and hope and let it know it happens to the best of us.
Uh-oh, putting me on the spot. I hear
Yeah,
you went down. Let's talk about
on the
it.
hot seat. Yeah. So what happened? Or what
Yes.
happens?
Um, you may not be as familiar with this conversation, but as women, we have hormonal fluctuations which pull things into different phases in our
Wait, wait,
body.
wait, 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 wait,
I'm pulling
wait.
the woman card. You don't like that, do you?
I have 3 daughters. I coached women's lacrosse at college level for 20 years.
Yes, but have you experienced that moment where you can feel that your hormones are shifting in your body and you can feel there's something tumbling in you and you're like, what's happening now? I don't know what's happening. It's not just, oh, I
I've
have cramps one day and it's not a big deal. With Lyme, like it affects where the bacteria are in their cycle and how they respond. And like it actually does so much more than like what people really think it does. So we can talk about like estrogen cycles and all
Yeah,
those
so let's
different things,
talk
but it
about that
sucks.
then. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, so a lot of women experience a lot of estrogen symptoms that they really think are Lyme, but they don't actually realize it. So, like hot flashes, or like I get a lot of shakes and weakness has been a really big symptom of mine. I was like, oh, it's Lyme, it's Lyme. Well, I did a great job of clearing the Lyme, and then I just kept having these things. So, as I healed my liver and my liver was coming back into function, it then says, oh, good, I'm going to release all this toxic estrogen that's in our food, our pharmaceuticals. There's so many different places we get estrogen.
Plastics.
Everything,
Yeah.
water, air we breathe. I mean, like it's pretty hard not to touch an estrogen product, and for men too. So your body has all this excess of this hormone and we can't complete natural cycles. And then, that's a really big conversation during treatment. But even as I got better and the liver started healing, my body is then releasing all this backlog of toxins, which is bacterial or estrogen or all these other things. So I was in a pretty rough flare where the liver was like, we're going to heal and we're done with this estrogen. Goodbye. And my stomach is just, oh my gosh, I can't handle it. So I'm, taking all the binders, sucking down all the charcoal. But man, when it's ready to heal, you kind of just hang on and hope for the best.
So, what were your symptoms?
I get these estrogen dumps. Like basically, I'll just be sitting around having a nice conversation, and you'll start seeing the red cross my face, and I'll start getting weak. My hands will start tremoring, and I will just be like, okay, I need a giant head of broccoli. And I just eat this until my body starts like chilling out because this has things that bind to toxic estrogen and help remove that toxicity from the body. So you will see me for the last week just hanging on to my little broccoli stalks, chewing away like a little goat in the field.
And do you do anything else to support the detox? So, we talked about binders, broccoli, that has the sulforaphane in it, and all
Yeah,
kinds of other good.
so more liver support, right? The ACV with the enzymes to help break them down, and pretty much anything we can do to support that metabolic cycle of also elimination from the body, right? Like a little extra magnesium, make sure the stomach's moving. And I do like to hit the ginger pretty hard. The ginger is pretty solid on the stomach, but ginger is also a liver support, so it also helps the estrogen flow out a little bit too. So a little push pull on that one.
And then, how long does it take to get back on your feet? Because we missed a couple weeks here.
When it's in a really bad phase, I get about 6 to 8 estrogen dumps a day. And it takes me about an hour to 2 hours to recover from them. So it's kind of that's my day. Like, it starts coming in at first thing in the morning, and by the evening, I've eaten 2 heads of broccoli, about a half a jar of binders, and, and that's my day.
Go to sleep, wake up, and do it all over again.
Right, exactly. So yeah, it's a tough phase, but I truly try to look at it as the body is actively healing. Like not just I'm kind of being supportive. It is saying we're going and we're getting rid of stuff, and it sucks, but we keep working through it.
So now that you're through this particular dump, do you feel better than you were feeling before?
I wouldn't say I'm through it, like it's
Oh, okay.
still, yeah, it's still actively working. Women will notice like at different points in the cycle, it's worse and better. So I don't know if you can see, I still have a little bit of a glow today. Still working on it. My broccoli is close, but I would really probably expect this to last 3/4 of the month for probably about the next 6 months, and it's just how much estrogen is in you, how bad is your liver. I think anybody knows from previous conversations, I have a real bad liver. So I got a lot of work to do. And this is just hanging on and hoping for the best.
So have you had your genetics done?
I have had my genetics done, and I've talked to the fantastic Bob Miller, and he says that's a mess you got.
It'd be interesting. So, do you know about your sulfonation pathways or some of those
I did it so long
phase
ago.
two pathways?
It bears revisiting, but I haven't. I knew there was something wrong, but which part?
We should take a look at that
Yeah,
offline together
yeah,
and pull it up and see what's there because, and I'm not. This is not my field of expertise, but I do know that the estrogen and the estrogen metabolites are detoxified through specific pathways
yes,
in the liver. So it's, the liver has like 6 separate pathways to deal with things. And depending on where the metabolites bounce through and would need to be moved, we can have, great liver function in, glucuronidation, but not in sulfonation, or great function in glutathione conjugation, but not in acetylation or
absolutely. And then
so
there's
yeah.
the second layer of estrogen can be reabsorbed in the stomach, right? So even if I'm not binding everything, it could be reabsorbed even though I've eliminated it. And that's why we get in that like cycle of I want it
Yeah.
out. I want it all the way out, not sort of out.
Right. Yeah. So the binders and yeah, and then if the liver's not breaking it down, then it stays in circulation, right? Then you get the estrogen
Yep.
dominance fun. So here's how long have you been? Is that your dog?
I was about to say dogs are mad about it too. They're frustrated for me.
How long have you been dealing with Lyme? I'm not sure I even know that
I am closing in
answer.
on 9 years, almost
9
hitting my
years.
decade
Okay. And is that from being bit or from being diagnosed and treated?
from being bitten, and went 2 years undiagnosed.
Okay, so you've been actively pursuing Lyme specifically for about 7 years.
Yep.
So when something like this happens, like you're cruising along, it's summertime, you got your goats, I see all your Facebook pictures, all this great stuff happening on the farm, dealing with bed and breakfast people and
Ups and downs every
ups and
day.
downs. And then, I'm going to call it a flare, even though it's not technically a Lyme flare, it's a leftover symptom that you're dealing with
Yeah.
and having to clear out because your body was so busy doing Lyme toxins, it didn't. Well, the estrogen's not as dangerous as this other stuff, so we'll store it away somewhere in our love handles or thighs or wherever
In my safe spots.
it's being stored.
They're
Right.
not going anywhere.
So so my question, well, if we get rid of the toxins, they might, right? My question is, how do you deal with the emotional aspect of it? It's like, oh shit,
No.
because nobody wakes up today and say, oh, I'm going to do the laundry and I'm going to, run my errands to the bank and then I'm going to do an estrogen dump. Nobody puts that on their to-do list.
They wouldn't if they wanted to. So, no, it's definitely, I feel like I've really gotten to be fairly a seasoned pro at doing this. I feel like I have a really good mental space around it, and even this stuff really sets me back. I have a really amazing partner who lets me just let it out. I am sure he has heard the same conversation every morning for 6 months, and every morning he's like, "I hear you. That really sucks," and I don't really need more than that. I just need somebody to be like, I get it. This is not the life you envisioned. This is not where you're going. And sometimes just that acknowledgement. This is not where I want to be right now, but this is not the end is a really good way that I just kind of stay in that, not your final destination, not ideal. Okay, move forward. So I think having a good, support system and somebody that you can really communicate that, maybe you don't need them to fix it for you. Cause I think that's men, right? They want to jump in and okay, well, do you need this, this, and this? And you know what? I've been doing this. I know what I need. It's not different from the last time. So I would say that's for the people who are caregivers or supporters, or the people who sometimes need to better communicate what they need when they're going through. I don't need my problem solved. I just need to talk about it. And I think that's, me with him. I just need to tell you that I'm really grumpy and I'm really pissed off and I'm tired of doing this. And it's a different day. Same story.
And here we go again.
Yes.
Now, are you doing the Primal Trust?
I am doing some primal trust along with it. And it's been nice because it is also helping with that brain space. Where you are is not where you're going, and how to get out of negative brain cycle loops. My estrogen issues used to be like catastrophic, like on the floor, just too intense for my body to handle. And so I have this fear of every time I feel it, well, what if I'm there? What if I'm to the point I need to call somebody? What if I am not safe? And Primal Trust has been doing a really nice job of saying, well, you are safe in your body, and helping redevelop that primal trust in who you are and where you are with things. And it's been a really great mental exercise to almost distance myself from these catastrophic things that my brain wants to go, panic, red lights. We've been here before. It was not good. Everybody, as opposed to we can just have a whole different conversation. Man, this sucks. Here's your tools and your resources for dealing with it. Okay, let's get out of this space. Let's think about something else as you have solved the immediate problem in front of you.
And remind people how they can get hooked up with Lyme Warriors and Primal Trust.
Yep, we've got it on the homepage right now because I think everybody should spend a little time with it. So drop down and join the groups. And what's really nice is they have peer-to-peer groups too, where you can talk to other people about coping mechanisms. So again, if you don't have that supportive teammate or somebody else, there are other people that are going through this. So that's been another nice aspect of it too.
Yeah, that's awesome. I have been working with, I don't know how to describe this man has been hosting like weekly calls, and he's a retired Navy SEAL.
Nice.
And he also trained Navy SEALs. So he's indoctrinated in and also aware of how to train people to perform at their highest. And what's interesting is as their training evolves over the decades, over the years, they're getting more and more into the headspace. Like how to stay calm under fire, how to keep going when you don't want to keep going. All the same things we talk about with healing with Lyme disease.
Yeah.
And it's really amazing to see the same technology, really being aware, being in the moment, controlling your breathing, all that kind of good stuff, getting yourself to calm down, has its applications in life and in high performance. So you've got these super high performance people doing things where it's literally life or death. And then you have these super low performance, I'm going to say, with Lyme disease, where you're also dealing with life and death, right? You're not out there, somebody shooting at you, but you've got little bugs inside you that are shooting at you.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that it's the same, you need the same headspace.
Yeah, I think there's so much correlation between PTSD and coping strategies because, like you said, it's internal fire versus external fire. The brain and the body kind of responds the same, and I think that's how does our body return to that state of healing? Because when I am stressed out, when I am worried about being on the floor, that is not a state of healing. That is not a state of mitochondrial repair. So I think, there's 10 billion ways to address that. And I'm so glad it's becoming a conversation for SEALs, for chronically ill, for people who have been, trauma survivors, like just everything.
Yeah, it's really remarkable.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you for sharing your story with us. I'm sure it will help more than one person out there. And I'd like to remind you, not you, Lauren, but you
the
who's
people
listening, if you'd like to share your Lyme story, particularly if it's a win or you are winning, and how we define that is, well, a win is pretty obvious, but winning, I would say Lauren is winning with Lyme disease, right?
Less miserable than yesterday.
The overall arc is winning. That doesn't mean you don't have setbacks, right? And
Right.
again, drawing on the external battle, it's not that you win every single battle you're up against, but you're winning more than you're losing and you're making progress. So if you'd like to share that story, send me an email to mackay@lymeninjaradio.com and we'll just have a nice short conversation. It's nothing too in depth. We're not doing hour-long deep dives into everything and exploring every little thing you did. It's really just to give people a touchstone and to share all these success stories. Because if you go online, you're going to see a lot of the, and rightfully so, because people are problem solving. You're going to see a lot of the setbacks. You're going to see a lot of the flares. You're going to see a lot of the questions. Oh, my teeth are falling out of my head. Oh, my skin's erupting. Oh, I can't digest anything but red meat. Oh, I can't digest anything, even red
Particularly
meat.
not red meat.
I've had, we've all had these crazy stories that we hear about Lyme disease, or I have debilitating migraines, debilitating joint pain. And the other thing I want to just kind of leave, and I'll let you have the last word after I make these comments, is there's still so much work to be done in getting the word out and awareness. And I had two conversations yesterday that just highlighted this. I had a woman call up to ask about allergies. Does acupuncture treat allergies? Well, the short answer is yes. And after a little more conversation, it was a lot more complicated than that. And she was diagnosed with MS. It's like, okay. Yeah, exactly. It's like, have you, considered Lyme disease? She says, funny you mentioned that. You're not the first person to say that. And I have been tested. Oh, what tests have you done? So then, it's a 20-minute conversation explaining to her why the test that she did, the standard two-step, is not a diagnostic test. And, it's frustrating that we still have to do this. And it was news to her, and that her doctors are pretending that that's okay and that she's been screened for Lyme disease when she hasn't. And, if she has MS, God bless her. But if she has Lyme disease, God help her, because they're not going to be looking in that direction. Matter of fact, they're suppressing her immune system right now. That's the treatment for MS.
Yep.
Good grief. So that's number one. And I'll actually, why don't you just go ahead and if you have any comments about that
Oh,
before
so
going
many
to strain number
comments,
two.
right?
Yeah. Well, go ahead.
I I think what I find so frustrating about the standard test is in Virginia, the state law is if you receive a negative test, that you have to be notified via paperwork that the test is not great. Like that it literally are required by law to send you something saying this test is faulty. So I did 4 and I got 1 letter. And my doctor gave it to me and said, don't worry about it.
Oh, the doctor downplayed the letter.
Right. So this is like, let's just go with like 3 out of 4 didn't get it. And then 2, he's going to downplay it. And
Wow.
I continue to think back on just, he didn't have any answers for me of any kind, but it was not that one.
Can't
I
be
can
that.
assure you it's not that one. And it's just stuff like that I find is such a major catalyst to it's the lack of medical understanding of this disease. The testing needs to be improved and the awareness needs to be improved at the doctor's level. And why does it fall on just us, the people, to have to say the doctors aren't right? That just puts us in such a miserable spot. So that's the part I just hate. That's the part I can't get past, that I find that to be just a big hitch in the system.
And here's number 2. So I have a friend, and she came in for a treatment. She hurt her wrist. She's a nurse, open-minded nurse. She was on the forefront of opening an integrative health center a few years ago in the area. So she's not the standard medical closed-minded.
She's a little special.
She's very special. And I'll use her name. Her name's Mary Lord. So she's she's very special. She'll laugh if she hears this. Anyway, she comes in, and she's talking about a patient of hers. She's doing some private nursing right now, and even like secondhand, like hearing her talk about her, it's like, has he been tested for Lyme disease? And she says, funny that you mentioned that, but no. So then Then we go for the long thing about why it might be a good idea. And this particular person, money's not too much an issue. So it's like, well, you probably should just go ahead and go to get an hygienics test done since money isn't an issue. It's just get a real gold standard test done. And then we start talking some more, about her symptoms. And then the more she talks is like, do you have Lyme disease?
I'm not saying everybody has Lyme, but I'm just saying everybody in this room,
everybody
and everybody
yesterday
in this
had Lyme disease.
conversation.
Yeah. So for her, money is a little bit more of an issue. So, we had a little bit of a discussion about alternatives. So we're going to try a little teasel challenge for her and see if
Oh, that's my favorite. Like I feel like it's a little bit of the crazy end, but I love herbals. And I just hear just a little like teasel or a
5
little
drops.
like, oh, shoot, what's the other? Andrographis. Just have a touch. Do you feel terrible? Okay, we got you. All right, let's move ahead.
Yeah, exactly. We'll start. You're right. Start increasing the dose.
Yep.
So, that's the $30 test as opposed to the $1,500 test. So and I've got to figure out how to present that because how do I know if it's if I have it or not? Am I going to feel like shit? And they're like, really? Why do I want to do this again?
You're not a good leader. I come to you because I feel miserable, and you're like, here, let's
exactly.
make you feel worse.
Let's
like,
make you feel worse. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
I feel like that's a rough pitch, right? Like Lyme disease. We're
but
gonna
you
see if you'll
you
feel
save
worse.
$1,500. It's like you can
Well,
either
there's
do
a
it.
pain point trade-off.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. So it's just, and again, here's somebody who theoretically should know better, but her mind's on other things. And she is even though she is very open-minded, she's in the traditional channels of care. And, I keep on thinking, oh, we've got this enough information out there that people, we don't need to keep doing that work. And I'm just wrong, just wrong.
Yeah.
And the last thing I'd like to say is where the IDSAs, the Infectious Disease Society of America, IDSA, their screening protocol misses every year. And this is the CDC number. This is not Mackay's conspiracy numbers because my numbers would be much higher. According to the CDC, they are missing 430,000, give or take a few thousand, cases every single year. 430,000. They're missing 1 out of 10. So we know this because the CDC takes the number of positive cases reported, and it's a mandatory reporting, so every positive case, and they multiply by 10. So what does that mean? That means they're missing 90%. It's like, how could you be so bad? You have one job, detect Lyme disease, and you're failing 9 times out of 10. Imagine if you drove to the supermarket and 9 times out of 10, either you crashed your car or you didn't make it to the supermarket. You would think, or your family would think you've got a problem. But your doctor in Virginia says, don't worry about that. Our standards are fine.
No?
We're doing great. It's like, I won't do that analogy, but
I have a couple analogies. That
it's just terrible. It's just that level of failure, that level of ineptness, is criminal. And to not even sit there thinking, you know what, we're not doing a great job. Maybe we should look at this. But there's no humility, no nothing. No, it's like, no, we've got this covered. As a matter of fact, and you're all wrong, and we're right. And maybe they're keeping it that way because they're waiting to make money off the vaccines that are coming down the line.
I was about to say, at least we got some work going on. Like we are making some progress. There is more money going in than ever before. I think we are making progress on that front, but we are still in where it's not good. Obviously, like where it's not good. It's real bad, but we have a lot of really amazing advocates that are making progress. And so I always encourage people that if that really bothers you, join a group, like join Lyme Warrior, join Center for Lyme Action, join somebody. And we need more people actionably working against that.
And just having those conversations like I did yesterday. I mean, I'm coming from a position of authority, sort of. I'm an acupuncturist.
Yep.
I was wearing my lab coat, so I looked all official and
They
everything.
have to believe you if you have
Yeah,
a lab coat
exactly.
on.
But wear a cap, wear a pin, wear a ribbon, wear a T-shirt. Have the conversations. People are curious and people want to know. And all you need to have is a one fact or two, memorized. Something about the test, something about the incidents, something about what's going on in your community or the state, or just a good story. Just a good story. Here's the Chittenango story. Chittenango is 50 minutes away from us. Now we'll end on this because we're on 25 minutes. And when I first looked at the clock, it was like 13 minutes. Wow, what else are we going to talk about? And here we are. We've doubled the time already. We're on our soapboxes, Lauren. We're on our
Well,
soapboxes.
you can't get two Lyme patients together and talk about Lyme issues. We're going to get carried away.
So Chittenango, and actually Chittenango is the home of Frank Baum, who wrote The Wizard of Oz. So there's a Wizard of Oz museum and casino in Chittenango, by the way.
Oh, man.
And Chittenango's a tiny, tiny little town, by the way. It's not even, anyway. So a friend of mine in Chittenango, she gets bit for the second time and gets Lyme disease for the second time. And this time on this walk, her dog also got bit. So the dog's limping, she's limping. She goes to her doctor, and the doctor, she says, "Look, I've had Lyme disease. I know the symptoms. I'm pretty sure I'm having a recurrence. I did get bit. I pulled the tick off me." And the doctor literally says, "We do not have Lyme disease here in Chittenango. Go away."
Where
Right?
you are, there really still shouldn't be a conversation, right? Like,
Exactly. And this is upstate New York, Syracuse. New York is very close by. It's endemic in there. There's
yeah.
one neighborhood, like everybody in this neighborhood has Lyme disease. Anyway, so let's just stop there. But it gets better because she takes her dog literally, remember this small town, literally across the street
No.
to the vet. And the vet says, "Oh, that's too bad. Let's test for Lyme, and it probably has it, so we're going to start the antibiotics right away."
No.
It's like that's literally insane. The vet knows, the human vet doesn't know. Like
Why does the dog
what
test work when the human
the
test doesn't?
what the is going on?
Right. Had the
Man,
makings of a good country song in the beginning, and now it just turned out into a horror story.
just
So,
it is a horror story.
yeah.
Yeah, it ends with the lady going back and just burning down the doctor's office or something. Understandably, right? Actually, she didn't. She moved to North Carolina and is happily ever after, I think. But that type of lack of awareness, and again, it's the IDSA telling those docs, nope. And in this case, that would be the health department and the state, saying that, oh, you have low prevalence. It's just wrong,
Yeah.
just wrong. And then you get this vicious cycle, right? You don't test for Lyme. The test doesn't work. But even if you did some surveillance testing, something would come up positive every once in a while.
Yeah.
And then it would get reported, and then the numbers would go in, and people would test a little bit more, and you get more testing, more reporting. Even if it's inadequate, you're missing, 9 out of 10, but you're still getting 1 out of 10. You're getting some data into the system. But instead, you just ignore it. Oh, we don't have it because we don't test for it, and therefore we don't have it. Why don't you test for it? Well, because we don't have it. Well, how do you know you don't test? Yeah, but we don't need to test because we don't have it. Okay, genius.
It's a very solid logic train that just came off the rails there, didn't it?
Yeah, train wreck. So, advocate for yourself, advocate for your family, advocate for your friends, for your community, for your church, for your organizations, everybody you come in contact with. You won't convince everybody because you're swimming upstream here, but you will save one. It's like the starfish story. How come you're throwing all those starfish? They're just going to go back. He said, well, I'll save one.
Yeah. I like it.
So on that note, Lauren, I'm so glad you're feeling somewhat functional. I
Thank
didn't
you.
see any red creep up.
I got the
your
lighting
interview.
going right, so you can't see it,
Yeah,
right? We're making improvements.
a little powdered. And hopefully you'll be feeling good, and we can record next week as well. So we actually, just so you all know, it is August the 8th, and we'll be releasing this in the next 24 hours. So you'll be getting this tonight on the 8th or tomorrow on the 9th, and we'll get caught up. And if you do have a Lyme story, a Lyme win that you'd like to share with the world, please reach out. Just email me at mackay@lymeninjaradio.com. And we will have a conversation and get your story out there. I would love to talk to you. Until we speak again, hopefully next week.
I'll see you next week with a new friend. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Lyme Ninja Radio is a purely public broadcast and is not intended to be personalized medical advice for any individual's specific situation. Each individual's medical situation is unique, and Lyme Ninja Radio should not be relied upon and or considered as personalized medical advice. Lyme Ninja Radio is not licensed to render medical advice and should be considered simply the public opinion of Lyme Ninja Radio and its guests. Recommendations on specific treatment options are not intended to address any listener's particular medical situation. As always, contact your physician before considering any new treatment.